WOR-FM broadcasts at an assigned frequency of 98.7 megacycles with transmitting facilities high atop the Empire State Building. During the time we are on the air, WOR-FM carries the scheduled programs of WOR-AM. Now, on behalf of the management and staff of WOR-FM, this is Carl Warren, bidding each and every one of you a very good night.
Hi, boys and girls, it's me. And I'm back and I'm in the lair. And as you can see on my repair bench, there's a brown lump, which is just nothing but a towel, but there is a radio under there. And this radio is kind of I don't know, it's something that I had found, which kind of date back to my childhood, and I don't know what happened to the radio that I had, but when I saw this, I thought maybe this might be a cool project to do with everybody. It's a fairly simple radio, but it's just the fact that it was the same color and it looked just like the one I had from when I think I got it as either a birthday present or something, or a Christmas present. I was about 7, 8 years old. But it's still kind of cool, so I kind of went to one of the auction sites and pulled the trigger on this one. So, you want to see what it is? 1, 2, 3. Yes, that's a Zenith. I forget what model number this is. Let's see what it says on the bottom here. It's an X114L. That's the model number. I know they made these in a couple different colors. They actually made one of these in a turquoise. Now, actually, the turquoise one looks pretty cool. But this is the same color, the same layout that I had. It had the gold lettering here that says Zenith, the gold inset here. I'm pretty sure the radio was made right around 1965, I'm guessing, 4 or 5. And the guts, I believe, is just nothing but an All-American 5. So I got something else that came with the radio. Let me share that with you. All right, for starters, I think what we're going to try is I've got the radio plugged into my Variac here. And over here, in case you're just a little reminder, this is your current draw AC amps here, and then the voltmeter. And I have the radio on, and let's turn it all the way up. Well, maybe not all the way. We'll do it halfway. There we go. And now we'll turn the unit on. I'll slowly bring up the juice. Now, it said in the ad that this guy is a Hummer. Now, they shouldn't have plugged it in, but they did plug it in, and they said that the radio hums. So if they're right, that means that the series string filament tubes are probably good in here. All right, let's see. All right, I'm up to 80 volts. Let me stop there. And I think that once the tubes are heated up, we'll get some kind of viable indicator of where we stand here. If not, we can go up a little bit more. I'm starting to hear something. And here, let me turn off this fluorescent light. Yep, that doesn't have anything to do with it. But here... Why can't be thrilled? They don't have the mic tonight, trust me. They probably think it's so at 80 volts, it does hum, but then you could actually hear the radio in the background. So this ought to be a pretty easy fix. So let's open it up and see what's inside. Well, I got the back cover off, and you can see it's basically an AA5 mounted sideways. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, here's your 5 tubes. Bread slashers up here. This is a nice big ferrite rod antenna. This is kind of like the last of the Mohicans. I know that Zenith went as far as 1969 making tube radios. But I think this radio might have been one of the last hurrahs for the tube radio before they started making them in transistor form, just in AM only, which is what this guy is. So anyway, I guess what I'm gonna have to do is figure out how this guy comes out of here. Even the outlet socket's screwed on here. Its speaker's only on by 2 screws. So let me get this thing out of here. And I would think, given the amount of dirt that's in here, this guy has probably never been apart. So this could be the first time. Well, here's the chassis out of the radio. I'm going to zoom in on a little bit. And you see there really isn't hardly anything to it at all. Other than a couple resistors, some molded caps here. This is one of those cap resistor coil packs that just all in one thing. All we'll have to do is change this guy out here. This is a 2-sided cap, and I already rotated it a little bit so you can see it a little better. There's a piece of tape there from the factory. So the red wire is 60 mic at 150, I think it is, and then yeah, it's 150. The green is 20 microfarad at also 150. So you have a red wire, a green wire, and the black wire is common, of course. So I think what we're going to do is, now I don't have a 60 or a 68, so I'm going to put 2 33s together. And I already checked it out. It's going to give me about 65, which is okay. I'd rather have a little more than a little less. And then I've got a 22 at 160. So I'll take this guy out, cut these wires, put the other ones in this little wire loop thing right here. By way of the miracle of modern electronics, this thing should fire up and work. So now let's see. I'm being texted, so please excuse me. I get a lot of texts and emails every day from folks. So we'll just bring this up now. This is the volume control. Let me turn the radio on. I'll go halfway on the volume, and this is the tuning right here. So the knobs would come off the radio, but they have clips that hold it onto the radio. So we'll bring things up now. I'm only showing you the voltage here. Let me bring up the display. So right now it's let's see, we're at about 60 volts and a tenth of an amp here. All right, let's start at the 80 that we were at before. Remember, we brought it up to 80 before. Let's see what it's going to do now. Oh, here we go. Oh, let me turn this off, this light. So I think we got ourselves a winner. So I think all that's left is basically cleaning everything up and doing an alignment. Okay, so since we have the radio at least functional without hum at the moment, this is a good opportunity to clean this back of this radio. You can see it's rather nasty. So I have this in my slop sink. What we're going to do is we're just going to soap it all up and give it a good clean. Now, if you intend on doing this on your own, take a look at your radio and make sure that you don't have like a tube layout diagram somewhere. I just have the model number. Here, I'm hold it in the camera there. Someone put a sticker on there that says 2150. Maybe that's because they wanted to be reminded what they paid for the radio. I don't know. But make sure if you do see a tube diagram or layout, you might want to mask that off so it doesn't, you don't want to get it wet and nasty. The tube layout on this radio is actually on the back of the radio on the press board back. So anyway, let's have at it. There's a few light scratches on the surface of this, so we're just going to take some Novus number 2 and just go over the outside of this thing and just kind of clean this up a little bit. Alright, now that the case is cleaned and polished, we're just going to go in here and kind of dust some of the radio bits off here, like little bits of dust around resistors. And I mean, this is just kind of being a little nitpicky here, but we already went through the effort of cleaning all that up, so a little light dusting, so we'll have at least don't have to be perfect, but somewhat clean chassis to put back in the radio. And just dust things off here. Pull this away here a little bit. There we go. Alright, next thing I'm doing is I've got my ICO 324 signal generator here. I've got my Radio Shack analog multimeter, and I have it set to the 2-volt AC scale. And then you might see this big brown towel I have here. Well, I'll explain in a second, but what I'm out to do is I'm out to basically take my alignment tool and I want to adjust both IFs. The IF frequency for this particular radio is 455 kilocycles, and what I'm going to do is a little bit unconventional. This is something I learned from an old-time radio guy. What I've done is that normally you would force a signal into the radio and basically peak everything at 455 kilocycles, but what he showed me is that instead of doing it at 455, you take a harmonic, and which would end up being double the value of this one, would be 910 kc. Dial the radio to 910 kc and adjust your variable capacitor, or what I call the bread slicer. Get it to 910, and then set the signal generator up at 910. And then peak the signal on the voltometer. And the analog is a little bit easier to do because then you can see the swing of the meter rather than seeing a bunch of numbers flip around by using a digital voltometer. Now, to get enough of a meter swing on here, you have to have the volume kind of on the loud side. So that's why I have the brown towel here over the speaker to kind of squelch or quench the noise that I'm going to get. Another thing you can do is, and you don't want to do this if you live in your apartment and everybody's at home sleeping at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's not a good idea. Or you could have hearing protection, so you don't have to do, because I have to get the radio up a little bit loud just so I can see the meter swing. So let me bring this up so you can see what it's going to look like. I don't know how well you can see that meter or not, but it's gone up there a little bit. And then you can take your adjustment tool, your alignment tool, and start adjusting. I've already did the alignment on here, but I'll just work with this one here. There's 2 coils on the Zenith. You have one on top and one on the bottom. So you just keep it. What I do is I look at the meter and I go back and forth until I can see that needle peak at the highest point. So in this case, I did the top one first, and now I'll go to the bottom. See how the louder the volume you put it, the more you can see the meter swing there. So anyway, now both of the IFs are peaked on this guy. Okay, so here's the chassis with the chassis and speaker back in the cabinet. The speaker and this fixture here for the plug is screwed in. The chassis is still loose, but I wanted to do that to kind of make a point. So if you, let me get a pointer here. Put something out there. Now normally, I just turn this camera sideways just to get a better angle on it, but the wave rod tends a little bit in the way. But if you look up in here where the varial cap is, or the bread slicer, now this is a 2-gang because it's only a 5-tube radio. There's no extra RF stage on or whatever, but there is another alignment procedure which I didn't have to do. And that's why I've had this thing in here loose. But the smaller set of fins is for basically adjusting your frequency. So in other words, if you're trying to set up for 1,000 kcs and you're at the 10 spot on the dial, it should be on this radio straight up anyhow. And then the bigger set of fins is for the antenna. Now there's actually on top of the bread slicer, way up here, that you can't see, there are 2 screws, and one for each set of fins. And if you need to adjust the frequency, then you would adjust that screw for the one with the smaller set of fins. In this case, it's the one that's closer to the front of the radio. Well, I can't get this in here, like up back here. And then if you want to adjust the antenna setting, there's a screw for this set of fins here. But I didn't really have to touch it because it seems to be dead on. So I'm just not going to monkey around with it. It's a fairly simple radio and there wasn't a heck of a lot to do. So I'm just going to screw this in, throw it back on, and turn it on.
And the 1-1 pitch was way outside, but a huge swing and miss from Gonzalez. That pitch wasn't even close to the strike zone, and it was strike 2. One ball, 2 strikes, the pitch. Taken in the dirt, 2 balls and 2 strikes to Gonzalez, with Rocchio at third and Freeze at second. And a 2-2 pitch, foul tipped for strike 3, 2 strikeouts in the first inning.